What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I've got another very important AMC update to bring all of you on this long weekend. So first, I hope you guys are enjoying your long weekend. I know that it's going to seem like a really long time until we get back to another AMC trading day, but hopefully when we start the trading week next week, it'll be well worth the wait, and you guys get to spend some time with friends and family that you have not been able to see in a long time. So what we're going to be covering in this video is one, we've actually seen the short interest increase on AMC over the last week. Now, we briefly covered this concept in my previous video, and we did receive a weekend update from Ortex, which I want to bring to your guys' attention because I believe it is extremely important. And then we also have a pretty interesting situation going on with Credit Suisse, and how they're actually not letting people take out their money from one of the funds that they offer. And we're going to go over this situation in full because there is some very key aspects of what is mentioned in these articles that strongly suggest to me that AMC could potentially play a role in why Credit Suisse is having so many issues at the current time. So before we get into all of that information, if you guys don't mind, go down and leave a like on this video. Costs you nothing to do it, but only do it if you guys actually enjoy the information and analysis that I provide for you in this video. So when we're looking at the option chain for AMC, let's take a look and see what we have for next week, because you guys all know I am really looking for a massive gamma squeeze before the short squeeze happens. Once we see this true big gamma squeeze where the institutions have to provide a lot of buying volume into the market due to a lot of these options contracts going in the money, that could run up the share price of AMC enough to maybe trigger some of these margin calls or forced liquidation. So for next week, we do have a pretty high open interest already at this $30 strike with about 28,721 contracts on the open interest. Now, what's interesting about this is that we saw on Friday a volume of about 69,129. So this is buying and selling volume, but typically it is a net number. So it's going to be very interesting to see if these were day trades on this $30 strike or if people are actually holding these going into the next week. If that is the case, this number here could potentially massively jump up into the 30,000 or 40,000 contract range. Now, coming down a little bit further, there's nothing really that jumps out to me. But again, we've all gone over that June 18th expiration date, so I'm not going to touch on it again. Now, coming over to this Ortex screenshot, on Friday, we saw 5.45 million shares borrowed and 1.2 million shares returned. The borrowed change was about 4.25 million. Now, when we come over to the left, we can see that the estimated short interest as a percentage of the free float is about 17.37% over here, and the utilization is still incredibly high at 99.45%. 7 days ago, when AMC was trading in that $12 to $14 range, the utilization was at 99.28%. So the utilization tells us how many shares institutions are willing to lend out versus the amount of shares that have been lent out onto the marketplace, most likely to be sold in order to create a short position. So we're seeing this number increase, meaning that more institutions or more shares of AMC are being loaned out to be shorted than were previously, even though AMC is up over 100% over the last week. And you can see a discrepancy between this estimated current short interest of the percentage or current short interest percentage of the free flow at about 17.93% over here versus this 17.37% over here. Now, again, I don't fully trust the information that I am seeing on Ortex because we're not getting the full picture. And as I'll show you guys later, we really don't actually have a really concrete way of determining which institutions have short positions and how big these short positions are. Now, when we come over here, this is really what I want to talk about in this video. So Bloomberg, Credit Suisse is temporarily barring clients from withdrawing all their cash from a fund that invests with Renaissance Technologies after investors rush to exit. Now, if you guys have looked into hedge funds or quant trading in the past, you guys would know that Renaissance previously in their Medallion fund was the most successful quant fund of all time. They were generating returns that nobody believed were even possible for an extended period of time. So coming over to this first article, this is going to have to do with Credit Suisse and SoftBank. So Credit Suisse cuts risk as defections mount, meaning people are leaving Credit Suisse in the wake of scandal. So we all know that Credit Suisse had a really big involvement in the Archegos situation. And as we look through this article, they're actually offering big bonuses to their high-performing individuals in order to entice them to stay. But again, in the first quarter, their pre-tax loss was about $1 billion. Now, the big article that I want to talk about is this one right here. And we're going to try to make some connections on how AMC plays into this. So Credit Suisse's Rentec fund holds back some client cash. When we look through this article, we can see that Credit Suisse Group AG is temporarily barring clients from withdrawing all their cash from a fund that invests with Renaissance Technologies after the strategy tanked and investors rushed to exit. The bank has invoked a so-called holdback clause after assets in the CS Renaissance Alternative Access Fund slumped to about $250 million this month from approximately $700 million at the start of 2020. Now, there's really no way to prove that AMC was the reason for this, but typically Renaissance is most likely doing some high-frequency trading. Now, if we look at the overall market and we come over to the S&P 500 chart over the last month, so we're going to pull up the SPY, and we change this to the 1-month chart. Let's see. Oh, that's the 3-month chart. Let's see if there's actually 1-month chart right here, as we can see. The SPY has actually been relatively flat over the last month. So this kind of shows us that the biggest 500 companies in the United States market, they haven't really done much over the past month. Now, this is just the index of all of those different stocks. But overall, we've seen everything be pretty flat. Now, this would suggest to me that if Credit Suisse and their fund basically invested into anything that was involving around the S&P 500, which is the market tracking index, they would have come out relatively flat. And these individuals at these different institutions, especially Renaissance, they're not stupid. They're incredibly smart. Jim Simons, who actually founded Renaissance, was a world-renowned physicist, I think, and a mathematician before he got into the stock market. So anybody that works there really knows what they're doing. But when we look at the chart for AMC over the past month, again, this is speculation, we've been going absolutely insane. We were at $9 on May 4th. We came all the way up to $36 a share, and now all of a sudden there's a fund that Credit Suisse invests in that went from $700 million in assets under management at the beginning of 2020, and then now down to $250 million this month. Something is going on here. Now, I also want to point out that Credit Suisse has a really strong involvement in dark pools. Now, I think it's listed right here. Yep, so CCSU is the owner and operator of Crossfinder. I brought this up when we look at the FINRA data for the over-the-counter market and the actual ATS data, which is actually correlated to the dark pools. And it's so an alternative trading system commonly referred to as a dark pool. Crossfinder is not a registered national securities exchange, but a private execution venue that accepts, matches, and executes orders to buy and sell equity securities that it receives from CSSU clients who access Crossfinder either directly or by sending orders to CSSU algorithms that are then routed to Crossfinder. Now, we can see down here that Crossfinder was the second largest dark pool as measured by the dollar volume of executions, worth over $360 billion in the first quarter of 2015. Currently, UBS's dark pool is actually the largest dark pool in terms of their volume. Now, here's also what I want to take a look at. In terms of the short interest for AMC. Now, when we look at the institutional ownership on this page here, we can see a lot of new positions were entered for AMC. And if we look at that market beat data, there's about 370 million of new positions opened, or new buying of AMC over the last quarter, so Q1. And there's a relatively small amount of positions sold. So that is a very bullish sign going forward. But here's what I want to look at. When we type in Renaissance, we can see here that, Renaissance has about 516,000 shares of AMC. So when we come back up here, just to prove it, AMC institutional ownership, AMC Entertainment Holdings, just so you guys are all aware of what we're looking at. So 516,000 shares. When we come over to Credit Suisse, we can see that right here they have a call, and then down here they have about 153,000 shares. Now, here's what's interesting. When we look at this firsthand, it looks like Credit Suisse as a whole is very bullish on AMC. But coming over to this SEC page right here about these 13F filings, what about short positions? You should not include short positions on Form 13F. You also should not subtract your short positions in a security from your long positions in that same security. Report only the long position. So all of this institutional ownership data that we are getting from Fintel and a couple of these other different data sources, they're not reporting these short positions. And as we've seen before, how FINRA actually has the institutions report their short data, it's self-reported. So that's why I've said time and time again that the short interest numbers that we are seeing on all of these different data sources are most likely way understated. I also want to point out that it is entirely possible that the Credit Suisse situation that they are in with this Renaissance fund right now, in the big losses that they are taking, it's entirely possible that AMC, GameStop, and a couple of these other potential short squeezes that we have coming up have nothing to do with this. It's entirely possible that this is some other reason why they have taken such big losses. But when you look at the information as a whole, it is also entirely possible that AMC has contributed to this loss. So that is going to conclude this update on AMC. If you guys enjoyed the information and analysis that I provided for you in this video, make sure you go down and hit that like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video, so you get to stay up to date on all of your favorite stocks, learn about a couple of new ones, and see exactly which options I am trading and which strategies I am using to trade them. So I hope you guys are having a great weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next video.